This is BD Daily Tech News Podcast, your daily briefing on tech and innovation. It's 2026, March 16th, and today's theme is AI is graduating from feature to infrastructure and deals, plus it's sneaking into your headphones.
Finally, AI is doing what every adult does, signing paperwork, renting expensive space, and then showing up uninvited in a meeting to translate everything you say.
First story. Bloomberg reports OpenAI is in advanced discussions to form a joint venture with private equity firms, including TPG and Bain Capital, focused on bolstering adoption of its AI software. Reported size around $10 billion.
$10 billion for adoption sounds like buying a treadmill and calling it fitness. What does a joint venture actually do here? Like, is AI getting a roommate?
A JV is basically a new shared vehicle. Instead of OpenAI selling software one customer at a time, the JV can bundle deployment teams, integration, compliance, and sometimes financing, so enterprises can adopt faster without reinventing the wheel internally.
So it's AI, but with adults in the room. The adults being private equity with a spreadsheet and a stopwatch.
The simple tech version, the model is the engine, but enterprises need the whole car. Data connectors, identity and access controls, audit logs, guardrails, and monitoring. A JV can industrialize that last mile, so the model isn't just a demo.
The AI isn't the hard part. It's getting it to behave inside a company where the Wi-Fi password is still on a sticky note from 2019.
Why it matters for normal people? If adoption accelerates, you'll see more AI in customer support, HR, and productivity tools, meaning faster service in theory, but also more automation pressure on roles that are repetitive and text-heavy.
And for developers, congratulations! Your job title is now Integration Therapist. You'll be calming down legacy systems and explaining to leadership why just plug in the AI is not a plan.
Actionable takeaway. When you hear JV for adoption, ask 3 questions. What data will it touch? What compliance regime is it built for? And who is on the hook when the model makes a costly mistake? That's where the real story lives.
Okay, so AI is getting a corporate chaperone. Next up, AI is also getting a very expensive electricity habit.
Second story. Bloomberg says Meta will pay as much as $27 billion over the next 5 years to access AI infrastructure from Nebius Group. Big number, long horizon, and it highlights a shift. Compute capacity is becoming a strategic supply contract.
So Meta is basically signing a lease on a brain gym. 5 years. That's not we're testing AI. That's we're moving in and repainting.
The simple version, training and serving large AI models requires massive parallel compute. Think thousands of GPUs acting like a synchronized team. If you can't get enough capacity reliably, your product roadmap becomes wishful thinking.
It's like trying to run a restaurant during a food shortage. You can have the best chef, but if you can't source ingredients, you're just doing cooking TikToks in an empty kitchen.
Why it matters to everyday users. More capacity usually means more AI features shipped faster, better search, better recommendations, more generative tools. But it can also mean more data collection pressure to feed those systems and justify the spend.
Also, it normalizes the idea that AI equals data center contract. So when your app adds an AI button, you're not just downloading an update, you're basically subscribing to someone else's power bill.
Actionable takeaway for builders. Plan for cost and reliability. If your product depends on heavy inference, design fallbacks, caching, smaller models, rate limits, so a capacity crunch doesn't turn your UI into a loading spinner museum.
From giant server rooms to something that sits on your head, let's talk about Apple selling translation as a lifestyle accessory.
Third story. Apple announced AirPods Max 2, priced at $549, with the H2 chip, upgraded active noise canceling, and a headline feature, AI-powered live translation in real time.
Live translation in headphones sounds magical, but also like the fastest way to start an argument because your earbuds decided polite was optional.
Tech behind it simplified. Your headphones capture audio. Then a pipeline does speech to text, translation, and text to speech.
Some steps may run on device, but many systems still rely on cloud models for quality. Latency and privacy depend on where that processing happens.
So it's basically a tiny call center in your ears, and the hold music is your own breathing, but in spatial audio.
Why it matters. If it works well, it lowers friction for travel, multilingual families, and cross-border work. For accessibility, real-time translation can overlap with live captions and hearing support. Huge if Apple integrates it cleanly into the OS.
But the big question, where does the audio go? Because my headphones are listening is fine when it's for a song. It's less cute when it's for my therapy session in a coffee shop.
Exactly. Practical checklist. Look for settings that clarify on-device versus cloud processing, whether transcripts are stored, and whether you can disable translation per app or per context. Live translation is powerful, but it's also a data pipeline.
Today's vibe is clear. OpenAI is packaging adoption. Meta is booking compute like it's a utility, and Apple is turning AI into something you wear. AI isn't coming, it's renewing its lease.
Quick recap on 2026 March 16th. Reported OpenAI JV talks around $10 billion for enterprise adoption. Meta's up to $27 billion infrastructure access deal with Nebius over 5 years, and Apple's AirPods Max 2 with H2, better noise canceling, and live translation. 3 angles of the same shift. AI is operational now.
If this helped you understand the headlines without falling into the hype trap, subscribe. And send this episode to the friend who thinks infrastructure is just what happens under the hood, not the thing you pay for forever.
Leave a review and tell us which story you want deeper next. AI deal structures, compute supply contracts, or consumer translation tech. We'll be back tomorrow with more. Thanks for listening to BD Daily Tech News Podcast.